There are moments in a man's life when the noise inside his mind becomes more dangerous than anything outside it. Doubts sharpen into blades. Regrets echo louder than reason. The future looks like a battlefield is already lost. Most people try to escape that inner chaos, distract themselves, outrun it, numb it. But the truth is simple. Whatever you run from owns you. And that's exactly where Hiroshi's story begins. He wasn't weak. In fact, he was the opposite. A disciplined fighter, a man known in his village for his physical strength, a man who always pushed harder than the rest. But strength on the outside didn't match the storm inside him. He carried a mind filled with noise, too many thoughts, too many doubts, too many invisible battles. At night he felt the chaos swelling like water behind a dam. During the day he hid it behind effort, behind discipline, behind a mask of calm that fooled everyone except himself. One evening, after failing a mission that should have been simple for a warrior of his level, Hiroshi walked alone down a mountain path, feeling the weight of shame sitting on his chest. He didn't fail because the task was hard. He failed because his mind unraveled at the wrong moment. His thoughts jumped from fear of mistakes to fear of judgment to fear of losing everything he had worked for. His sword was steady. His mind was not. At the bottom of the mountain was a small, hidden dojo, one rumored to train warriors in a way no other school dared. It wasn't a place for learning how to fight others. It was a place for learning how to fight yourself. The dojo's master was a man named Jōshin. He looked nothing like the warriors Hiroshi admired. No armor, no sword, no visible strength, only a presence that felt like standing in front of a still lake, calm but powerful in a way that couldn't be measured. Jōshin didn't ask why Hiroshi came. He simply watched the young warrior kneel in front of him, frustrated breath shaking in his chest. Hiroshi bowed low and spoke the truth he had never spoken aloud. "My mind betrays me," Hiroshi said. "I lose battles I should win. I lose myself in moments I should be strong. Teach me how to silence what's inside." Jōshin studied him quietly, then gently shook his head. "No," he said. "I will not teach you to silence it." Hiroshi looked up, confused. "Then what will you teach me?" Jōshin pointed to the ground where a faint spiral had been drawn in the date. "Chaos is not your enemy," he said. "You only believe it is because you've never learned to step inside it without drowning. You want control without understanding. You want calm without awareness. But a warrior cannot tame what he refuses to face." He stood in motion for Hiroshi to follow him outside to a circular courtyard made of smooth stone. The air felt heavier there, as if countless warriors had struggled and transformed in that same place. Jōshin handed Hiroshi a wooden sword. "You will strike that post," he said, pointing to a wooden pillar in the center. "Not to strengthen your body, but to observe your mind." Hiroshi swung hard, too hard. His grip was tight, breath jagged. He swung again, and again, and again. Jōshin watched without speaking. Sweat dripped down Hiroshi's face. His strikes grew sloppy. His frustration rose. Finally, Hiroshi burst out. "This is pointless. I've trained my whole life. Why would you make me do this like a beginner?" Jōshin stepped forward, calm as ever. "Because I'm not watching your technique. I'm watching the 1,000 thoughts running through your head each time you move." Hiroshi's breathing slowed as he realized the truth. His mind was louder than the strike itself. Jōshin placed a hand on Hiroshi's shoulder. "Your chaos controls you because you think it speaks the truth. But chaos is only the echo of unexamined fear." Hiroshi lowered his sword. "Then how do I control it?" "By stepping into it," Jōshin said. "Not running from it, not suppressing it, not pretending it isn't there. You will learn to walk into your own mind the same way you would walk into a battlefield, aware, steady, unshaken. And when you can observe chaos without reacting to it, you will control it." Jōshin took a long piece of black cloth and tied it around Hiroshi's eyes. "Your first test begins now," he said. "You will stand blindfolded until you can hear the difference between your thoughts and reality." For Hiroshi, that didn't sound difficult. But 3 minutes in, his mind began to spiral. He felt vulnerable, exposed, unsafe. Without his sight, he imagined threats everywhere. Footsteps, breathing, shadows that weren't even real. Minutes passed. Sweat collected on his palms. His heartbeat grew louder. Thoughts raced. What if something strikes me? What if I fail again? What if this was a mistake? What if I can't do this? His breathing turned shallow. Jōshin's voice finally broke the air. Tell me, Hiroshi, which of those thoughts were true? Hiroshi hesitated. None. Exactly, Jōshin said. Your chaos does not come from truth. It comes from illusion, from your own imagination, and yet you obey it as if it is a master. Hiroshi swallowed hard. Then what am I supposed to do? You will learn to separate fear from reality, Jōshin answered, and once you do, you will become a warrior inside your own mind. Hours passed. Hiroshi stood blindfolded until his mind exhausted itself, until the noise burned itself out, until he realized something profound. His body was safe. The courtyard was still. Nothing was attacking him. The only battle was inside. When Jōshin finally removed the blindfold, Hiroshi opened his eyes slowly. The world looked clearer, not because the light changed, but because his perception did. Jōshin nodded with approval. Good. You have taken your first step toward mastering the chaos. Tomorrow, we begin the real training. Hiroshi bowed. A calm he had never known settled across his chest. It wasn't victory. It wasn't confidence. It was clarity, the first quiet moment in years. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, before the sun even reached the roofs of the dojo, Hiroshi awoke with a strange stillness inside him. Not silence. His thoughts were still there, but they were no longer storming against his skull. They drifted like clouds instead of crashing like waves. It felt unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, like wearing armor shaped for someone else. He stepped outside into the cold dawn air. The courtyard stones were damp with night's dew, and a soft mist curled around the ground. Jōshin was already waiting, seated with his back straight and his hands resting lightly on his knees. His presence was so steady it felt like the air rippled around him. Sit, the master said without opening his eyes. Hiroshi obeyed, settling onto the cold stone. For a long moment, they simply breathed together. Birds chirped in the distance. The world was calm, but inside Hiroshi, a small ripple of tension stirred, questioning what today's lesson would bring. Jōshin finally spoke. Yesterday, you learned the truth, that most of your fear is fiction. Today, you will learn the second truth, that your reactions are learned, not natural. Hiroshi frowned. Learned. Jōshin opened his eyes. Yes, a man is not born impatient. He learns impatience. A man is not born afraid of failure. He learns fear. A man is not born with chaos in his mind. He collects it. He reached out and tapped Hiroshi's chest lightly. What you collected, you can release. Hiroshi wanted to believe that. He wasn't sure he did. Jōshin stood and motioned for Hiroshi to follow. They walked to the far end of the courtyard where a set of wooden poles stood in the ground, old, weathered by time and countless strikes. Hiroshi had trained with similar poles since childhood, but this time Jōshin gave him a strange instruction. Hit it gently. Hiroshi blinked. Gently? But training requires strength. No, Jōshin said. Training requires awareness. Hiroshi tried anyway. He struck lightly, just enough to tap the pole. It felt pointless, like swinging for nothing. Again, Jōshin said. Hiroshi tapped it once more. Again. 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 After the 20th strike, frustration began to simmer. I don't understand the purpose. That is because you are watching only your strength, Jōshin said. Listen instead. Listen. Hiroshi repeated. To the pole. To your hand. To your breath. Hiroshi exhaled slowly and looked down. For the first time, he noticed something small. After every light strike, his wrist trembled. Just slightly, but enough to show hesitation. Enough to show that even in a harmless strike, a piece of fear lingered in him. I see it now, Jōshin said before Hiroshi could speak. Your hesitation. You do not trust your movements. Hiroshi felt a rush of shame. I didn't know. That is why your chaos controls you, the master said. You cannot control what you cannot see. Jōshin then placed his hand on Hiroshi's shoulder. Close your eyes. Strike again. Hiroshi hesitated. Closing his eyes meant returning to the darkness where doubts grew claws. But he obeyed. He tapped the pole again. Without sight, the tremor in his wrist felt bigger, louder, impossible to ignore. Good, Jōshin said softly. Now the truth is visible. Hiroshi breathed deeply. His chest felt tight as memories pressed into him. Moments he flinched when life demanded calm. Moments he pulled back because he didn't trust himself. Jōshin stepped closer. When a warrior's mind is not at peace, even the softest movement carries the full weight of his fear. Hiroshi opened his eyes slowly. How do I fix it? By unlearning, Jōshin said. By doing what your fear says is dangerous until your body no longer reacts. He handed Hiroshi a blindfold again. Hiroshi stiffened. Another blind test. Yes, Jōshin said. Fear lives in sight. Chaos lives in imagination. Master them both, and nothing inside will control you again. This time the blindfold felt different. Yesterday, it choked him with panic. Today, he felt more prepared. Strike the pole, Jōshin instructed. Hiroshi tapped gently, still trembling. Again! Tap! Again! Tap! Then Jōshin said something unexpected. Now strike it with intention. Hiroshi inhaled sharply. He pulled a wooden sword back, unsure. Without sight, swinging with intent felt dangerous. His mind warned him, you could miss, you could stumble, you could hurt yourself. Jōshin must have sensed his hesitation. Chaos is the enemy only when you obey it. Break the pattern. Hiroshi swung. The sword hit the pole with a clean, powerful thud. No tremble, no hesitation, just movement. Jōshin nodded. Good. Again. Hiroshi struck again, harder, sharper, cleaner. A warmth spread in his chest. His breathing deepened. His stance rooted. His shoulders steadied. The strikes became rhythmic. Thud, 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 each one dissolving another layer of hidden doubt. When Jōshin finally said, stop, Hiroshi felt lighter than he had in years. The blindfold was removed. The courtyard seemed brighter. Jōshin examined him for a long moment. Now you understand the second truth. Hiroshi swallowed, waiting. Chaos controls reactions. Awareness controls chaos. Something clicked inside Hiroshi, something he had felt but never understood. All his life he had tried to silence his thoughts, bury them, fight them. But awareness wasn't fighting. Awareness was mastery. Jōshin walked to the center of the courtyard. There is one more exercise today. He knelt and drew a circle in the date. Inside the circle, he drew a single dot. What do you see? He asked. A dot inside a circle. That is your mind. The circle is your thoughts. The dot is your awareness. He looked up at Hiroshi with intensity. A weak man becomes a circle. A strong man stays a dot. Hiroshi felt the weight of the lesson hit like a blade. You cannot control the circle, Jōshin continued. Thoughts will come, storms will form, chaos will rise. But as long as you remain the dot, unmoved, your mind becomes your ally. Hiroshi knelt beside him. Then teach me to stay the dot. Jōshin smiled faintly. That is exactly what tomorrow's training will break in you, and rebuild stronger than you can imagine. Hiroshi stood, breathing in the crisp morning air. The courtyard felt like a battlefield he was finally prepared to face, not with aggression, but with clarity. As the sun rose fully over the mountains, he realized something unexpected. This wasn't just training. This was becoming someone new. The morning of Hiroshi's final lesson arrived with an unusual stillness. The air felt different, heavier, expectant, like the world itself knew what was about to happen. Hiroshi stood alone in the courtyard, his breath forming soft clouds in the cold air. He wasn't nervous, but he wasn't calm either. He was aware, fully, completely, painfully aware of everything inside him and everything around him. Jōshin walked toward him slowly, hand behind his back, eyes fixed on Hiroshi in a way that felt like he was seeing directly into the center of his mind. You've learned awareness, the master said. You've learned to witness chaos. Now you must learn the hardest lesson of all, to act with clarity when chaos is loud. Hiroshi nodded. How do I do that? Jōshin didn't answer with words. Instead, he pointed to far into the courtyard where 3 training posts stood, a tall one, a medium one, and a short one. Hiroshi had seen them many times but never used them. Today, Jōshin said, "You will face the storm inside you, not by watching it, not by calming it, but by moving through it." Hiroshi followed him to the posts. Jōshin stood beside the tallest one and placed a wooden sword at its base. "When I tell you to begin, you will strike each post in a specific order. Tall, medium, short, over and over, fast, hard, without stopping." Hiroshi narrowed his eyes. "What is the purpose?" Jōshin stepped close enough that Hiroshi could hear his steady breath. "The purpose is simple. Your mind will try to control you again. It will panic. It will shout. It will lie. You will override it with intention." Hiroshi felt the weight of the moment settle into his chest. Jōshin raised his hand. "Begin!" Hiroshi inhaled and swung. The wooden sword struck the tallest post with a powerful crack. He pivoted, struck the medium post, then the short one. The sequence felt simple. "Again!" Hiroshi repeated it. Strike sharp, breath controlled. Again! And again! After 30 repetitions, sweat ran down Hiroshi's back. His arms grew heavy, but he continued. Then the chaos arrived. It didn't crash in all at once. It slipped in quietly, like a whisper behind his ear. "Why are you doing this? You won't last. You're tired. You'll fail soon." Hiroshi's grip weakened. His breathing broke rhythm. Jōshin's voice cut through the air. "Good. Now fight." Hiroshi steadied himself. He struck again, but the chaos grew louder. "Your arm hurts. You're slowing down. Stop. Rest. Stop now." Hiroshi clenched his teeth and struck the tall post with a roar. But the storm inside him intensified. Jōshin did not intervene. He watched. The voices pressed harder, faster, more viciously. "You can't do this. You're not disciplined enough. You are the same man you were before. Weak, distracted, lost." Hiroshi faltered. His swing missed a medium post entirely. The sword scraped the ground. Jōshin spoke quietly. "This is a voice that has defeated you your entire life." Hiroshi's chest tightened. But today, Jōshin continued, "You do not obey it." Hiroshi took a breath so deep it strained his lungs. He locked his stance, lifted the sword again, and struck the tall post with everything he had left. The chaos shrieked. He struck again. And again. His breath turned ragged. His arms burned. His legs trembled. But he kept moving. Jōshin stepped closer. "Listen carefully, Hiroshi. Your thoughts are screaming because they are losing their power." The words hit Hiroshi like a spark to dry leaves. Losing their power. He gripped the sword tighter and swung harder. The tall post shook with each impact. The voices tried to rise again. But this time, something else rose with Hiroshi. Not silence. Not calm. Clarity. He felt it. Sharp, thin, precise, cutting through the noise like a blade. His body surged with strength. He moved faster, more controlled, more intentional. The sequence became fluid, almost effortless. Tall, medium, short, tall, medium, short. Each strike echoed through the courtyard like thunder. Jōshin watched with no expression, but his eyes gleamed with approval. "Now," Jōshin said suddenly, "Stop." Hiroshi froze mid-breath, sweat dripping from his chin. Jōshin walked up to him slowly. "What do you feel?" Hiroshi waited for the chaos to speak again, but it didn't. For the first time, the inside of his mind was not a battlefield. "It's quiet," Hiroshi whispered. "No," Jōshin corrected softly. "It is not quiet. You are steady. The storm is still there, but you are no longer inside it." Hiroshi felt heat in his chest, a warmth that wasn't exhaustion or pride, but something deeper, a sense of power he had never known. Jōshin placed a hand over Hiroshi's heart. "Your chaos didn't disappear. You outpaced it. You acted with intention while fear tried to claim you." Hiroshi swallowed, overwhelmed. "So this is inner control." Jōshin nodded. Control is not the absence of chaos. It is a mastery of response. A warrior becomes powerful not by silencing his mind, but by refusing to follow its illusions. They stood together for a long moment in silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of understanding. Then Jōshin stepped back. "You are ready." "Ready for what?" Hiroshi asked. Jōshin looked toward the mountains in the distance. "Ready to live as a man who is no longer controlled by the war inside him. You came here to silence chaos. Instead, you learned to command it." Hiroshi breathed deeply and felt the truth settle inside him. He wasn't healed. He was transformed. He bowed low, deeper than he ever had before, not out of respect for Jōshin, but out of respect for the version of himself he had finally met. Jōshin spoke one last time. "Hiroshi, the strongest warriors are not the ones who win the most battles. They are the ones who cannot be defeated from within." Hiroshi lifted his head, and for the first time in his life, he believed he was one of them.